So, what about connectivity of human cortical neuron subtypes? Uh,
Cortical neuron with various subtypes like pyramidal neurons, interneurons, and more, each playing specialized roles. Pyramidal neurons often handle long-range excitatory communication, while interneurons typically modulate local circuits. These connections underlie our perception, cognition, and motor control, forming dynamic plastic networks that constantly rewire based on experience.
Plastic networks that constantly rewire based on experience. Uh,
Exact.
what was that? Pyramidal neuron, interneuron, and more. Like pyramidal neuron often handle long-range excitatory communication, while interneuron typically modulate local circuits.
Yes, you got it. Pyramidal neurons are the workhorses of excitatory signaling over longer distances, especially in the cortex. Interneurons, on the other hand, are often inhibitory, fine-tuning local activity. Together, they shape the balance of excitation and inhibition that makes complex brain functions possible.
So, what you are suggesting that what is the role of pyramidal neuron?
I'm suggesting that pyramidal neurons are key players in sending signals across different brain regions. They're the main excitatory cells, meaning they fire to activate other neurons. Their long axons connect different cortical layers or even distant brain areas, helping coordinate complex tasks like movement, memory, or thought.
Okay, these neurons are a key player in sending signals across different brain regions. They are the main excitatory cell, meaning that they fire to activate other neurons. Their long axon connects different cortical layer or even distant brain areas. So basically, these are also neuron, but having long axons so that they can connect to different brain areas.
Yes, exactly. They're still neurons, just specialized in how they're structured and where they send signals. Those long axons let them bridge different parts of the brain, coordinating activity over larger distances, like brain superhighways linking regions together.
So what about this nature neuroscience issue? Like they saw that pyramidal neurons from electrophysiology subtypes that differ in anatomy and connectivity. Human temporal cortex samples from brain surgeries were prepared for simultaneous electrophysiological recordings of up to 10 neurons.
Right, so that study shows even among pyramidal neurons there's diversity. They found distinct subtypes that differ in their anatomy and connectivity, meaning some pyramidal cells might connect differently or fire in slightly different ways. Recording multiple neurons at once during surgery helped reveal these functional differences. It's a deeper dive into how complex and specialized even the same type of neuron can be.
So, what they are actually suggesting, meaning that recording of multiple neuron at once during surgery help reveal that these functional differences.
Exactly. By recording multiple neurons at once in real time, right from a living brain, they can see that not all pyramidal neurons behave identically. Some fire differently or connect to different circuits. So they're suggesting that these subtle functional differences might help explain the complexity of brain activity. Each subtype is a little specialized to handle different tasks or inputs.
Complexity of brain activity and little specialized to handle different task or input right from a living brain. So basically they are studying, actually they have studied up to 10 neurons recording, and they see how they are.
Yes, they studied those recordings from around 10 neurons at once to observe how they behave simultaneously. By doing that, they could identify patterns. Some neurons might respond to certain inputs or tasks differently than others. It's these differences that help paint a more precise picture of how diverse and specialized the cortical network is.
Okay, what do you mean by that cortical network?
The cortical network is basically the interconnected web of neurons in your cerebral cortex, your brain's outer layer. It's where higher level functions happen, like thinking, planning, sensing, and moving. All those neurons, pyramidal or otherwise, form a massive network of connections, sending signals between different regions to process all kinds of information.
So basically, but how that is possible to study specifically 10 neuron inside a living cell?
They usually do this during
Mhm.
surgical procedures where access is already necessary, for example, epilepsy surgeries. They can place tiny electrodes into the cortex. These electrodes can record signals from individual neurons in real time. It's highly specialized, carefully done, and only possible in specific clinical contexts, but it gives a unique window into how those neurons behave in a living brain.
How this neuron behave in living brain actually? Okay, highly specific. Okay, so they place electrodes into the cortex, but does that electrodes well enough to capture that, because neurons are very little actually?
Yes, those electrodes are incredibly fine tipped, designed specifically for this. They can detect tiny electrical changes from individual neurons. It's a bit like picking up whispers in a large room. With advanced equipment and careful placement, they isolate the signals from individual neurons. It's challenging, but modern techniques make it possible.
So what about this ep- epilepsy surgery that you mentioned about? What was that?
In some epilepsy cases, surgeons need to find the exact brain areas causing seizures. During that process, they sometimes place electrodes to record brain activity. This allows them to study neurons directly. It's during these rare, clinically necessary moments that researchers can also gather data on how those neurons function in real time.
So surgeons need to find the exact brain area causing seizures. What is the seizure meaning here?
A seizure is basically a sudden, uncontrolled burst of electrical activity in the brain. It can cause changes in behavior, movements, feelings, or even consciousness. In epilepsy, seizures recur. So, to treat severe cases, surgeons need to pinpoint where in the brain these bursts originate.
So they
If
on the 10 neuron they study, so they saw that pyramidal neuron from an electrophysiology subtype that differs in anatomy and connectivity. So
Yes, exactly. They identified different subtypes of pyramidal neurons. Even though they're all pyramidal, some differ in shape and in how they connect to other neurons. So it's not just one uniform type. They have specialized roles and wiring, adding another layer of complexity to how the brain works.
So, how they make some conclusion that how the brain works. So basically studying the long axon. Yeah, long axon. Yeah.
By studying how these long axons connect different brain regions or layers, they start mapping out the pathways of communication. Seeing which neurons activate others and how they're arranged helps them understand the brain's circuitry. When certain subtypes connect differently or fire in unique patterns, it shows how different tasks, memory, movement, or perception, are coordinated.
So can you make conclusion what we discuss?
Sure. In short, we talked about how cortical neurons like pyramidal cells handle brain communication. They differ in anatomy and connectivity, and researchers study these differences in living brains, sometimes during epilepsy surgeries. By recording neurons' activity, they map out how these specialized cells help form the brain's complex network, coordinating various tasks.
How these specialized cells help form the brain complex network coordinating various tasks. So can you give one example they observe, or Can you give what they have observed?
For example, they observed that some pyramidal neurons are more connected to distant regions, while others stay more local. This suggests that some specialize in broad, long-range communication, for example, linking different cortical areas, while others refine local circuits. In short, they've seen that these subtypes contribute differently, helping coordinate both broad and precise tasks.
Okay, thank you.